Hey everyone, welcome back to BMX News. This is a weekly BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you guys might care about. That being said, let's start this week off with some inspiration from Jack Dumper. If you don't know who that is, you're going to be very familiar as soon as I say that he is a one-armed BMX rider. That's right, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, this guy literally ties his hoodie sleeve to his grip on the other side. He rides his bike just as good as most other people who have two arms that are capable, and it's amazing to see companies like Crucial BMX and United backing this guy. In this video that I'm talking about, he does a 180 bar spin on a pyramid wedge to wedge hip. Imagine that. You've got your hoodie tied to your bar and you have to figure out how you're going to catch it and then turn a fakie around and keep it stable. Now, on top of that, the next clip is a 180 bar to slider. So you have to land in the most precise spot you can so that you can slide out of it, and he did it perfectly. This video is just a 100% must watch for the week, especially if you feel like you need some inspiration, because this guy is honestly so much more inspirational than most of the other sponsored riders out there. And I'm so glad that United is helping him out. And I hope that they put some time and investment into this dude so that he can blow up and everyone can know who he is. And his videos can get way more than the 3,000 views that it has right now. So he can inspire more people to ride their bikes no matter what their situation is. And that is what I think is important to take away from this one. It looks like this was all done in one session, and there's a lot of really good stuff in here. Like I said, there's also a 180 over a rail, and then he does a 180 fakie pegs down that rail at the end of the video. I'm sorry for spoiling it for some of you who get mad about that, but it needs to be said so that you guys can get over there and watch the video for yourselves. And with all that being said, I want to remind you guys that there's links in the description below to everything that I'm going to talk about this week in the order that I talk about it. So if you want to check out this Jack Dumper video, it's the first link in the description below. And that's everything that I have to say about this video, but it brings up the question, what inspires you guys to ride your bikes? Something like this I feel like is super inspirational to so many people, and I just want you guys to talk about it, and I want to hear what else inspires you to ride your bikes. The next thing I really wanted to highlight this week is a follow-up to something I talked about last week, and that is the Chimera A-side contest that went down in Japan, where Brandon Lupos won over $90,000 US. He had a phenomenal run. He got everything that he tried, and it was just packed full of tricks. But to be totally honest, besides the spins and flips, he only did 3 tricks. I don't know if that's a bad thing for BMX or a good thing for the people who are competing, because they only have to focus on 3 or 4 different things while they're riding. Regardless, it was a flawless run that he put everything together perfectly, and that ultimately is what won him this contest. But it did kind of make me want to see the full runs from everybody in this contest, just to see where someone like Boyd Hilder ended up, and if he just didn't land his stuff, or if he landed everything perfectly but didn't place as high as these guys because of the things that they were doing. But ultimately, none of what I'm saying really matters, because I wasn't a judge at this contest, and my opinion is just my opinion. But at that, I do think it's phenomenal that Brandon Lupos could walk away from this with almost $100,000 just for bringing all of these years of riding together into a few moments of his life where he performed flawlessly. And I think that's super amazing. And just like last week when I first talked about this contest, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on it in the comments down below, especially now that we've seen the results and seen some of the riding and seen that Brandon Lupos won it with the run that he won it with, and not seen anyone else's runs whatsoever other than these just highlights that we've got from Vital BMX on their YouTube channel. Now we can talk about the videos from this week, and the first one that I want to talk about features Ruben Alcantara and Garrett Burns, and it's called Fingers Crossed, and it's actually a teaser for a season of something that I'm assuming is coming soon, because at the end of it, it said episode 1. That implies more than one part. But with this, what I'm gathering from it, before we actually talk about the interview that's coming later that I haven't read yet, I'm assuming what's going on here is that these guys wanted to ride like downhill MTB, but didn't want to ride downhill MTB bikes, so they made their own out of BMX bikes. They're basically 20-inch MTBs that have suspension on them. The one that Ruben's riding appears to have full suspension on it, where Garrett's only has front. Either way though, this looks like it's going to get pretty crazy, especially with that crash that Garrett had in here. And like I said, there's an interview that I'm going to talk about later that I haven't read yet, so there's probably a lot of information about this thing in here that I'm going to learn and get to talk about here in a few minutes. Next, I want to talk about the Dig BMX House New York City video that dropped this past week. This one has an all-star lineup in it. It's got Hobie Doan, Denham Cox, Reed Stark, Joris Kalam, Mark Burnett, Mickey Fleck, and Brandon Began in there. All of those guys are on top of BMX right now, and they're all amazing riders. So you can just imagine how amazing the riding in this video is. And with that, I can't remember where or when I was talking about it, but I think it might have been last week's news video where I was saying how cool it would be to see a bunch of different riders who ride for a bunch of different companies in one video together and doing some sort of concept like that. I think I talked about how it'd be cool to see a bunch of different companies send one rider to a city and have them all come together to make a video, or send a couple different riders from a couple different companies to one city to make videos, and then we vote on which one we think is best. Well, Dig was already in process of doing something like this with this video. The riders are all from different companies for the most part. We've got Hobie Doan from Kink, Denham for BSD, I'm pretty sure, Reeds for BSD as well, Joris Kalam for Sabrosa and Shadow, Mark Burnett, Sabrosa and Shadow, Brandon Began for Cult, and I'm not sure who Mickey Fleck rides for currently, but United is also listed under the special thanks in the description, as well as all the other companies that I've already mentioned. So with that being said, I think it is amazing to see all of these different riders who kind of enjoy riding similar things under one roof in one video, all for Dig, brought together from all these different companies. It's just so cool to see, and the video is very well done, very well put together, and there's a lot of B-roll in here that shows that these guys are all just having fun together the entire time, and that's what it's all about. And I just hope that we can see more companies doing things like this in the future. I know that Dig was already working on this way before I ever said anything about it. It's just awesome, the timing of it, having it come out like the week after I mentioned it. After that is a video with Sam Chamberlain for Eclat called Every Day is a Sunday, and it only needs one word to describe it. That is personality. This video is a perfect example of what I think every single BMX video should strive to be in regards to showing the personality of the rider who's in the video. There's so much stuff in here that just gives us an insight into the personality of this guy without him ever having to say a word. You can just see it in everything he's doing that's not riding. And it just makes for a video that is so much easier to stick around for and watch the entire thing, because you actually want to stick around and watch the entire thing. I'm not the kind of person who really enjoys watching jibby street type riding, but in this video that's what he does for the most part, and I wanted to watch the entire thing all the way through, and I did, all because of the personality of the video. It could also be helped by the fact that he edited this video all himself, so he probably knew exactly what he wanted to put in there, and he probably put some of himself into it through the editing process as well, whether it was intentional or unintentional. But I really enjoyed this video, and I think that anyone could enjoy it no matter what kind of riding that you guys like to watch. One thing I always love pointing out with these news videos is how awesome it is to see the variation in all of the videos that I get to talk about. The first one with Ruben Alcantara and Garrett Burns riding downhill mountain biking, but on BMX bikes that they made themselves. Then the Dig BMX House with all of these different street riders from different companies. Then this video with Sam Chamberlain doing his thing his own way out in the streets. It's just amazing to see the different variation that we get to see in BMX weekly because of all of these different videos. That being said, that's the last video I wanted to talk in depth about, but as always, there's a bunch more that are worth watching that I need to mention. The first is from Alex Valentino, and it's his No Future section. Then we had another video featuring Brandon Began and a few others in a Merritt BMX Philly trip, followed by Declan Murray's FBM video. FBM might be done making bikes, but clearly the guys aren't done repping FBM. With this video, Declan Murray is one of the most creative BMX riders that I've seen lately, and he always does something that you will never see anyone else do ever. After that, we've got a bit of a longer video, but it features Courage Adams, and it's called Courage Adams Returns to Nigeria. This one has exactly that, and if you guys want a longer video and you want to learn more about Courage Adams and just see something like this that's not exactly a edit, this could be for you guys. And that brings us into the product related section from this week, where the first video that I have to talk about is a video with Dan Coller and Kink, and it's called Dan Coller Rides the Stoic Forks. This video is phenomenal in every single aspect of the video, from the fact that Dan Coller talks extremely professionally about these forks and gives all of the information that we might need about them, including the geometry and weight and his choices as far as offset goes and why he chooses them. And then when it comes to the video work, Daryl Taco, as always, does an amazing job putting this thing together. The riding after the fact is top notch. I don't know if I've ever seen someone do a gap to second stage rail but do an X up double peg in it. So it's probably happened, but it was so impressive to see it. And then he also does an X up curved rail in here, and it just shows that Dan Coller right now is one of the most professional and highest level riders in the game, and I love seeing it. After that, we've got 3 different videos from WeThePeople that are all the same concept but with 3 different riders. It's a 2020 bike build video, and they've got Dillon Lloyd, Jordan Godwin, and Felix Prangenberg in here. They're all under a minute long, and you know where to find them if you're interested. After that, we've got a promo video from Fly featuring Sergio Layos' 2020 Sierra line and all of the products that are included in that. Then we had a folding version of Devon Smiley's Fuego tire come out. This is called the Fuego Ligera tire, and this is from Fly. And that brings us into the interview section of this week. The first thing that I want to talk about is something that I thought that a lot of you guys who watch this would be psyched about. And to describe this, I'm just going to read the first little bit of information in the interview. It's over on ourbmx.com, and it's with Dom Phipps, and it says, "History in BMX is a difficult thing. We're a fickle bunch, and it's hard to tell kids what's up without sounding like an old salty dude. But some things need to not only be revisited but celebrated." Cue Dom Phipps and his latest project with Haro, first generation innovation that recreates 2 of the most iconic freestyle frames in the early era of the sport. So if this thumbnail intrigues you and that paragraph that I just read intrigues you, head over to ourbmx.com in the link in the description and check out all of the different things that he had to say about this project and see a bunch more pictures of the project as well. After that, we've got the Ruben Alcantara fingers crossed interview that I talked about earlier. This is a really long interview with a lot of different questions and information about this in it. It's basically the what, where, how, and why, and all of the stuff that you might want to know about it. It talks about where the idea came from, and it actually says that it started like 13 years ago or something like that, way back when they were filming for Etnies videos. And it said that Ruben went to Whistler in Canada, and he said that it was a lot of fun to ride the different lines there, but he still wished he had his BMX bike. So kind of like what I was thinking, they wanted to ride these things but wanted to do it on their BMX bikes, so they made BMX bikes that could do it. And then it says that Garrett Burns was so intrigued by this whole thing that he made his own version of this bike up here in the United States and then went down to Ruben, and that's going to be one of the episodes. So there is going to be more than one episode of this, and if you guys want to read this entire long interview and get more information about it, do you know where to find it? After that, we've got the Broc Raiford in the Volvo video from Our BMX. I did actually have a chance to listen to this one, and I thoroughly enjoyed it all the way through. So if you want to check that out, like I said before, you know where to find it. After that, we've got a Take 5 video with Nathan Williams from Cinema. This one has 5 different questions that he answers pretty in depth throughout it. It has everything from his inspirations as far as riders goes to the tire pressure that he rides and why his tires are only rated for 60 psi, and he gives a really good reason in there for that. Then he answers a question about mindset when it comes to riding, as far as like, does he like to just stumble upon a spot, or does he think about it a long time in advance? And his answer to this was pretty good as well. He also talks about his brand called Help that he's been working on and riding alone. So if any of that sounds intriguing to you, he answers all of it thoroughly and talks about it all very thoroughly. So I definitely recommend checking this one out, like I said, if any of it sounds intriguing to you. And then we had another video in the Mongoose Heritage series, this time with Pat Casey. And to be totally honest with you, I am burnt out on talking about videos for this week. So you can check that one out if it sounds interesting to you in the description down below. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this video, or if you had any thoughts on the Chimera A-side contest, or the guy who's riding at an amazing level for only having one arm, or anything else that I talked about this week. If you're new here or you haven't yet, consider hitting the subscribe button down below so that hopefully we can see you tomorrow for another video. I want to thank you all for being here and watching, and goodbye.